Hello, and welcome to Carl's Corner, where we have conversations, commentary, and celebrations of the prevention of child abuse. And today we're going to continue our Safe Adult series. It's going to be a little bit longer of a post because I am going to do some follow up information about where we've been and where we're going. So, over the last several weeks, we have been talking about tips on how to keep children safe. And so far, we have talked about the safe adults and how, if you are a safe adult, that you must be proactive and willing to do what it takes to protect children. And so, what we're talking about is protecting children from all types of abuse. So when we think about abuse, we think about physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, but also you got to remember that bullying and cyberbullying, digital dangers of any kind, is also considered abuse. So when we talk to you about this, we're talking about helping children stay safe from that. So the information that we have been pulling from is called the Monique Burr Foundation. They're based out of Florida. It's a nonprofit, and they have a curriculum called Child Safety Matters. And we're using this curriculum actually in the schools right now, teaching children K through fifth. It actually goes K through 12th, but we're actually working with third grade and fourth grade students here in Fayette County. And so that curriculum has not only the actual lessons that we teach the children, but lots and lots of information, evidence-based information to help keep children safe and also educate adults as the one who is responsible to keep children safe. So we've been discussing the safety rules, and as a safe adult, we've told you that you need to know the safety rules, you need to keep the safety rules, and you need not to ask the child to break the safety rules. So I've been doing a series to teach you the 5 safety rules so that you understand those. And if your child is not a part of the Fayette County School District and is not learning these already, it's something that you guys can teach your children at home or any of those that are in your care. So for a quick review, I wanted to tell you a little bit about some of the stats. We know that over 3 million children will be abused each year. We also know that 90% of children ages 8 to 16 have viewed pornography online. We know that 1 in 4 children will be bullied, and 1 in 5 will be cyberbullied at some point during their school career. Every child is at risk for becoming a victim of child abuse. But here's the good news. The good news is this: 95% of all child abuse is preventable, and it's preventable through education. That's why we're doing this series. So to be a safe adult, you need to be 18 years or older. You need to know the safety rules, keep the safety rules, don't ask a child to break the safety rules, but you also need to be available to that child. You need to be willing to make time for them, make a safe space for them to have those difficult conversations with you. So that's really, really key. The 5 safety rules that we've discussed so far, we're going to review those real quick. The first one is know what's up. So knowing what's up for a safe adult is that you're teaching your child how to be able to get a hold of you in case of an emergency. So they need to know your first and last name. They need to know the street address where they live. It's a good idea to know the phone number, how to get a hold of you. So those are some things that you need to be teaching the child at home. Another thing is a good safety net is to come up with a family password or a safe code for the family. And that way, when they're away from you, that code can be used to help protect them. Another safety rule number 2 is spot red flags. So we talked in a great deal about some different red flags that you as a parent need to be keying in on. So you can visit week 4, and that will go through the red flags. But make sure that you know those signs and symptoms of a child who's being abused in any way. And then also teach your child to identify red flags. So that literally means walking through scenarios so that they understand what's safe and what's unsafe. That's on and offline. All right. Number 3, safety rule number 3 is make a move. And we talked to you last week about making that move. For a safe adult, that simply means you need to make a move towards reporting. So making sure that you are reporting to the authorities any suspicion, any discovery, or any disclosure. The bottom line here is for you to know that if you are not willing to make that report, that child is not going to get the care that they need. If you don't make the call, we don't see the child. As an advocacy center, we rely heavily on those safe adults who are willing to do what it takes to protect children and make that call to authorities. And that could either be the law enforcement or DCS or the hotline that I've given you several times. I'll go ahead and give that to you again. This is a national hotline, 1 800 422 4453. That's 1 800 for a child. If it's bullying, a case of bullying or cyberbullying, it's important to report bullying to the organization where it occurred. And then for cyberbullying, there's a cyber tip line. That number is 1 800 843 5678. 1 800 843 5678. So for today, what we're going to talk about is safety rule number 4, which is talk it up. So last week we left off discussing disclosures, and a disclosure is made by a child. So it can look different ways, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But know that when you spot a red flag, that's the time to have a conversation with the child to find out what's going on. And then if they make a disclosure, what do you do? How do you respond? So first thing you want to know is that it's rare for a child to actually make a disclosure immediately. Very, very few children will make that disclosure. Less than 25% will make a disclosure immediately following abuse. But also that a disclosure is going to look differently. They're not just going to blurt out what's going on. Normally what happens, it's not a one-time event, it's a process. So it might be a start of a conversation and it may continue later on. It depends on how you handle that disclosure, to be honest. A child more than likely is going to do something like a hinted disclosure, and that would look like a neighbor is messing with me. So that's your time to step in and have a conversation with them. Another way that they may try to disclose is a question disclosure. And so that would look like this. What would happen if someone were hurting a kid and they told you? What would happen? So that's a question disclosure. And the third type of disclosures that we commonly see are called conditional disclosures. And that would look something like this. If I told you something, would you promise not to tell anyone? So those are the 3 kinds of disclosures that a child might be using to tell you that something's going on, that they're in harm's way. So when that happens, know that you need to respond appropriately. So I'm going to tell you a few do's and a few don'ts. First of all, the do's. What do you need to do? You must provide a safe and quiet space for that child to talk to you. All right. Make sure you're not asking open-ended questions, direct questions. You want to do open-ended question, not direct questions. So that would look something like this. Tell me more. What happened next? So just so they can continue that conversation. Tell the child that you believe them, that it's not their fault. Reassure them. Make sure you let them know we are going to get help. Don't make any promises because we don't know the end result, but just let them know that you're there for them and thank them for being so brave to tell you. What next? You want to make sure that after you've had the conversation and you feel that you have enough information to report, to go ahead and end that conversation and just tell them, mommy's going to get help, or I'm going to make sure and do what it takes to protect you. And then make sure you write down everything that you can remember verbatim. And then the last step, of course, is to make a report to your authorities, law enforcement or DCS. If you wanted support with that, if you just have questions before you want to actually make the report and you just need support, you can always call us. Here at the Child Advocacy Center in Fayette County is 901-235-7283. What don't you do? This is what you're not supposed to do when a child is trying to tell you something about abuse, that they've been abused. The first thing you want to do is make sure you do not overreact. Don't show a high amount of emotion. Make sure you're not playing investigator. So don't investigate, don't ask direct questions. Let the authorities do that. That's what they're there for. Make sure that you're not making comments or any judgments against the one who abused them, because likely this abuser is someone that the child loves and trusts. Don't assume that someone else is going to make that report, or if we just keep the child away from this person, that it's going to go away. Remember that if someone is abusing your child, it's likely that they are abusing other children. And so they usually have more than one victim. So just remember that not only making that report is going to protect your child, but it's also going to protect other children across your community. So it's very important to make sure that you make that report. So make sure that you get more information from us. You can call us here at 901-235-7283. We would love to bring these prevention trainings to your organization. If you want to learn more about the Child Safety Matters curriculum, you can do so at www.mbf, that's MBF, preventioneducation.org. They have a lot of resources there, and then you can also learn a little bit more about the Child Safety Matters curriculum. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned. We'll be back next week to talk about no blame, no shame, safety rule number 5.